Good afternoon and welcome to our conversation on LTE license and its coexistence with Wi-Fi. And today I'm talking with Ooredoo, and I have here with me Ziemowit Neyman, Assistant Director in RAN, and Seppo Hämäläinen, Assistant Director in RAN and SON Tools. Good afternoon.
Good day.
So to get started, can you tell me a bit about what you do at Ooredoo?
Okay, let's start maybe with myself as the first. I'm involved into the discovery and promotion of new technologies within the RAN domain. So this year we're focusing on the VoLTE introduction and Wi-Fi calling. On the other hand, I'm also involved into the selection, promotion, and specification of antennas and near base station antenna devices. So we're also involved into the proper selection of products, testing, and evaluation towards the use at real roads.
And I'm focusing, like my title says, to run SON and tools. So SON is one of my main topics, together with other tools like network planning tools or optimization tools and so on. And in addition to that, I'm also looking at the spectrum matters, and as a part of that, we are looking the LTE and unlicensed. So at the moment, collecting information and knowledge about that so that we can create our position and strategy for it.
Okay. Let's start with Wi-Fi. What is Wi-Fi? How do you use Wi-Fi in your networks today, and what are the short-term plans for Wi-Fi?
Okay. So at the moment, our let's say strategy to support Wi-Fi is actually limited because we haven't seen quite good solution to control the flow of the traffic between Wi-Fi and the RAN networks. So from this perspective, we haven't seen much use cases for Wi-Fi. Although Wi-Fi does provide a lot amount of a spectrum, which can be, let's say, walk just away, looking into the next data growth in the networks. So we need to find out, let's say, the new way of incorporate Wi-Fi. We think that with Wi-Fi calling, this new application being recently deployed within the mobiles, where you have integration of the new application with the existing dialers and making the access to these applications seamless for the users, change actually the world, because basically every AP, Wi-Fi AP is right now a base station of the operator. So you can extend your coverage beyond places you have been before. So if you imagine you spend 80% of your life indoors and you have a AP around you, Wi-Fi AP, then you have also potentially coverage of cellular, let's say, network as well. And this, together with the macro cell layer coverage, gives you nearly total coverage. And this is what is the primary application of any mobile networks to provide a seamless service to customers anywhere, let's say, the customer is.
Mm-hmm. So what does LTE license add to this? Because if Wi-Fi is becoming a better tool to use unlicensed spectrum, what is the further advantage that LTE license would bring you?
Well, I wouldn't see them as contradicting. So I think they are used in different ways or different areas. So I would see that you may correct if you have a different opinion, but I would see that that Wi-Fi and like Wi-Fi calling and so on would be used at homes and maybe in offices, in corporates. Well, then the LTE unlicensed would provide additional spectrum in public hotspots, perhaps also in some corporates. So I see that there's a different demand or different use case for Wi-Fi and LTE unlicensed.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of the use cases, it's going to be mostly indoors, and enterprise or public venues. Is that correct, or you see other use cases?
Yes, yeah. I think it would be, if you ask them about LTE unlicensed, then I think it would be hotspots, maybe mainly indoors and corporates, but perhaps possibly also outdoors. But anyway, I think it should be in small cells, so small cell environment.
Yeah.
From my opinion, the beauty of the Wi-Fi or the spectrum is available for free. But actually, it causes as well the other problem. If it's available for free, everyone can use it. So you have year by year increasing background noise because of the Wi-Fi. So I think if you can control your RF environments in the indoor locations, then definitely any Wi-Fi or LTE usage is possible and can take off. The other problem is any open any open hotspot where you have many different Wi-Fi access points actually may cause difficulties for a specific Wi-Fi deployment or LTE because your background noise will be quite high. So I see as well the application of any Wi-Fi or LTE limited to specific scenarios. I mean, indoors, and indoors is anywhere, but those indoors can be public where everyone can use or implement access Wi-Fi points. So from this perspective, any corporate, any home office is okay. But at public space, I think you need to have a dedicated spectrum to provide dedicated service. You always can compete with the others with the Wi-Fi spectrum, but you may see limitations as long the traffic is increasing and producing, let's say, constantly increased background noise. We have heard as well from over the operation, for example, in Japan, that basically Wi-Fi background noise in the public places increases 10 dB yearly. So once you have already LTE, I don't think so there will be space for in those applications for the let's say LTE in the 5 GHz spectrum because it will be simply jammed. The other question is how you're gonna use the spectrum. It is you can compete with Wi-Fi or you wanna use it opportunistically. And again, if you need to compete, then maybe there's a space for LTE, but on the other hand, it will upset the Wi-Fi users. But if you work on opportunistic scenario or case, then the LTE in a Wi-Fi spectrum will be always the secondary choice than Wi-Fi because you need to find a space for yourself to be operational. And this, I think, is difficult.
Yeah. Well, obviously, the spectrum limitations apply to both Wi-Fi and LTE. When you're in a situation where there is too much traffic, at some point you run out of capacity, which brings the question of how can the two technologies coexist. If there is space for both, not a problem. But if there is contention, how do you deal with that? And so are you happy with what you're seeing from a standardization point of view and spectrum utilization in terms of the two technologies being able to coexist, not just in the same band, but also in the same channel?
Yes, so I think what standardization is working on is this mechanisms for listen before talk. So meaning that you can use LTE if there is 3 channels. So the intention is that LTE in unlicensed should not harm Wi-Fi usage. So this is the what BridgePP is planning, and I think this is the way how it should go. And then maybe still to add what Ziemowit just said is that, but still LTE in unlicensed, it could be used wherever there is still space, where we have still spectrum available or where the spectrum is not fully consistent. So again, it's complementing Wi-Fi, and they should not be seen as competing, rather completing technologies.
Yeah. So in terms of the coexisting itself, there is a lot of talk about using listen before talk and other mechanisms to make sure that if you have the two technologies side by side, that they can be nice to each other. Are you comfortable that that's possible, or will the Wi-Fi users feel impacted by LTE unlicensed?
I think this is possible because as any newer technology need to coexist with the predecessor. So you always make a specification, make a testing, and if you're testing, it's okay that you make a deployment. And I guess this is possible. And again, it's not only LTU working on this standard, but as well the mobile networks in the lower frequencies, or as well spectrum, which is not widely used in a specific areas, will work as well on a similar, let's say, scenario. So this is the way forward, how to utilize the spectrum even further. But again, here the point is that Wi-Fi traffic will be not less, but will be increasing year by year. And the question will be still space for LTU or not? I don't know, and this is required further study. But I would like also mention one point which is quite important, maybe not taken into account yet. Any Wi-Fi access point operating the same spectrum like LTU is actually in the price range of hundreds of dollars, while any LTU small cell working in the spectrum is like in the price of thousands of dollars. So there's a huge price point difference. And the question is, if operators will be willing to spend more money for the LTU, let's say, capability instead of using, let's say, Wi-Fi access points? This is a good question. And I can't answer to you right now. There are definitely studies showing that using the spectrum for LTU is more efficient than Wi-Fi. But again, Wi-Fi is not stopping today to be developed. So I guess further advancement will also increase the Wi-Fi competitiveness in terms of the spectrum efficiency. So let's see.
Yeah. And you raise an important point, because LTE license is going to be in the price range of LTE, and Wi-Fi, it's clearly lower cost. But at the same time, you can argue that LTE unlicensed can be integrated better with within the network, so you can decide which services with which application go to both in an easier way than you can do with Wi-Fi. Is that the case, or is it because there is also a lot of work being done in integrating Wi-Fi with cellular? So maybe you can achieve the same from the Wi-Fi point of view.
Yeah, so I think at least in the past, in the history, the problem with Wi-Fi has been that it has been really difficult to cooperate or make the cellular networks and Wi-Fi to cooperate. So we have like NDSFs and so on, but still this cooperation between cellular and Wi-Fi has been not that good as one could expect. While this comes inherently from LTE, so because it's a part of LTE standard, it's just a supplementary downlink. So you don't have this challenge in LTE unlicensed.
You need to see as well, let's say that there's a lot of work is ongoing in the core network. So for example, there's a concept and technologies being developed to make sure that, for example, you can have a dual stream. So it means once you're under the LTE and under Wi-Fi, you can send the data stream both through the Wi-Fi and through the LTE. This also may solve a few of the questions. So I guess definitely LTU is very interesting, there's no question. But if it will be deployed and how, you need to see a total picture. So it means you need to also see what are the complementary technologies available as for today or being developed in parallel. And then during the deployments or investments, you need to evaluate all of them together. Because again, these dynamics are quite high in the technology world. So the situation of today will be definitely different tomorrow.
Yeah, and talking about alternatives, obviously you want to use LTE license to increase capacity, and one way to go is instead of going to the 5 gigahertz band where there's already Wi-Fi, to go to other bands like 3.5. How does that relate to LTE unlicensed? Is that a potential alternative or a complementary or no-go? What's your view on that?
Yeah, well, of course, LTE unlicensed could be used also in those bands, but there's also TD-LTE, which I see at the moment at least as the main approach. So to use TD or TDD.
Yeah. So from your point of view, is that as an alternative to LTE unlicensed or as a complement, in addition?
I would say that it's a complement in addition. at least this is my view at the moment, that it would be TDD would be the main use for 3.5.
Yes, I think as well. I mean, this is very good spectrum to be used indoor and to be used, let's say, for the small cells. So if you need capacity, it will go indoor in the small cells. But again, the other question will be the cost. So if you are able to control the Wi-Fi coverage indoor, which means as well the number of the operators there, then the cheapest solution is Wi-Fi at the moment.
Yeah.
But if you're not able to do it, and if you cannot cope with the jammed Wi-Fi spectrum, then definitely the deployment of the clean layer in a new frequency band is probably the best technical solution. If this is viable economically, we need to see. But again, technically, probably the best.
Yeah. So how do you go about it at Ooredoo in terms of evaluating the technology? Because from a technology point of view, you know, it's not too different from LTE, but there are all these other business case, spectrum availability. So how are you going to go about assessing the technology? Is it worth it for you, basically?
Oh, I can tell you our strategy changed recently, so we're fast follower. So we'll see the, let's say, industry, how does it evolve, and we will be watching what's happening with the technology and what are the first case evaluations. So based on this, we're going to make a decision on how we move forward. But just to be on the same page, we're also encouraging our, let's say, operations to purchase any TDD spectrum which is available on the market, because this will be required anyway to satisfy customer needs. And again, as mentioned, if the 3.5 gigahertz spectrum will be available and definitely will be TDD, then the use case for this spectrum will be indoor small cells. There's definitely not the use case for the macro cell layer. So from this perspective, I guess we will be quite well equipped with the spectrum for the, let's say, data increase. Although we definitely see as well the potential of the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. In terms of timeline, what is that you expect? If let's say you decide to go ahead with the LTE unlicensed, how long will it be before you can actually have it commercial, you think?
I would assume that it would take a couple of years, because first we have to wait until the station becomes ready, and before the terminals and the base stations are available. And again, because we are as a fast follower, so we are not among the first ones. So I think for us it would take, let's say, a couple of years before we would see any deployments.
Mm-hmm. What about the device side? Because you need to have a deployment on the RAN side, but also you need to have a LTE license in the handset. Is that something that it could become a challenge?
It will be. We had a recently discussion with one of the major chipset vendor, and we just understand you can't basically provide any software upgrade over the air. Even you have right now the 5 gigahertz radio for Wi-Fi and, let's say, LTE capability to make sure that the 5 gigahertz will be used by LTE, because it requires as well the significant protocol stack. I'm not sure about the hardware architecture. From this perspective, you require new chipsets. So once the chipset are available right on the market, then the LTE capability in the real products is available like a half year at least. And then later on, you require for this critical mass to be available in the market to be useful. So I guess, as we don't have right now specification finish, as we don't have yet any real trials, so I guess it is 2+ years at minimum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you get to the deployment, and say you get to the deployment of LTE unlicensed, do you expect to do any infrastructure sharing? Because basically you're using the same, every mobile operators could be using the same band. So there are some advantage to having some infrastructure sharing there. Is that something you'd be considering?
For LTE unlicensed, I'm not sure if we have opinion for that yet, but generally speaking, this is what we want to do. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure yet what would be the case for LTE unlicensed.
So it would be, so I guess you'd be open to do infrastructure sharing on the small cells as well?
Yeah, I mean, if there is a viable option, why not? I mean, any operators looking to minimize the cost of the deployments. So you can simply put it back on the situation on the market. So what is your position on that specific market? But again, our general trend is to share the networks.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you mentioned before voice over Wi-Fi and how that it's taking on, and granted that voice traffic is not the major source of traffic, it's still an important and valuable traffic source. Is the availability of voice over Wi-Fi going to make the case for LTE unlicensed not as strong, or it doesn't have any impact?
I would say that there is no impact because LTE unlicensed is not for voice; it's only data. Mm-hmm. So they are different things. They're addressing different things.
Yeah. So you'd be using LTE unlicensed to basically do the downlink, and you just select whatever application. So would it be at the application level, policy level? How would you do this traffic steering for LTE unlicensed?
This is, I think, you can basically put it back to the bandwidth requirements. So, unlicensed, let's say, spectrum will be used in this case for the carrier aggregation for high data throughput, right? Where, let's say, voice applications is below 20, 40 kilobits per second. For this, you do not need to require carrier aggregation. So I guess it will be not the case. You need to have an unlicensed, LTE unlicensed to support the voice on the LTE.
And LTE unlicensed is anyway just downlink, so it's a supplementary downlink. And then how do you use the traffic steering? Then it's in principle, I think it's supposed to be the same as any SDL or any carrier aggregation, because it's just operating in different frequency, nothing else.
Okay, I see. Now, in closing, what should we expect to see over the next 2-3 years in terms of activities? What's going to be the focus of activities with LTE and license?
I think, in my opinion, first finalize, let's say, the spec. Second, find the way how to, let's say, the spectrum will be used in connection to the existing Wi-Fi users and Wi-Fi network. It's basically this. And then definitely the field trials and the results and the business case. This is, I think, the most important thing to be sorted out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would like to thank you very much, Seppo and Ziemowit from Ooredoo, and it was great talking to you today. And I would like to remind our listeners that this conversation is part of our report on LTE unlicensed and its coexistence with Wi-Fi. And it's available from the Sensafili website and the RCR Wireless News website as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.